Hello, it's I, Beyond a Hero, back with another video. Today, I have a video that's inspired by one of Binge's content. I'm going to be ranking every Skylanders Spyro's adventure character from good to most good. Not in terms of abilities in the game, but more in terms of morality. This will be an interesting list, considering that the only real amount of character development these guys get is through the backstories, with only a decent amount of them appearing in other stories too, whether that being comics or books or, well, you get the story. So, without further ado, I think we should just get straight into it. So first of all, we have the slightly immoral list. These characters may be good at heart, but have done some terrible things to get to where they are now. So, we're going to start with the least good Skylander, and that is going to be actually my favorite Skylander, Ghost Roaster. Ghost Roaster may be a good guy at heart, and let's be real here, it was only really accidental that he accidentally used one of Sonic Boom's eggs for a cake that he was making, but he is certainly mad. When he first turned into this ghoul as he is now, he ate an entire population of ghost people, with his evil leaders chaining him. Luckily, Ghost Roaster had a second chance because Eon managed to recruit him to the Skylanders army. He was later partnered with Voodoo and Boomer to become agents for the Skylanders. As time went on being one of Buzz's elite agents, he felt that his work wasn't recognized enough, with basically him being shoved aside for more greater Skylanders like the Trap Team or the Swap Force, or even more to an extent, the Superchargers. Those in the UK may not know what I'm on about, but to tell you this, I'm actually talking about the IDW comics, where Ghost Roaster, well particularly Ghost Roaster, gets his character expanded in the short story Secret Agent Secrets. So going on about that. While Voodoo and Boomer revealed that they were actually agents spying on Spellslamzer, Ghost Roaster actually stayed on Spellslamzer's side as he felt he was being more recognized by the enemies. This, of course, makes Ghost Roaster a traitor, as he basically went against everything he stood to protect for in order to just gain attention. But while fighting his former comrades, Stormblade expressed her thoughts on Ghost Roaster and stated that without Ghost Roaster there'll be no Skylands, which ultimately reformed Ghost Roaster and brought him the courage to bring down Spellslamzer. Ghost Roaster is for sure one of the most memorable and of course relatable Skylanders to ever be created, considering that he turned against his allies in the sake of attention, which he felt he didn't get enough for his hard work. But the fact that he betrayed his allies definitely docked him a lot of points. From a fully-fledged traitor to just a mild inconvenience, we have Wrecking Ball. The only moral thing about Wrecking Ball is the fact that he's on our side, and that's literally it. Wrecking Ball has been described as a glutton, and he's also extremely impulsive, rushing into battle without a second thought. Of course, this caused him to lose his front teeth. Whoops. His pranks are also viewed as constantly annoying to his comrades. So, overall, this guy's got very little moral standards. Although what places him higher than Ghost Roaster is that he doesn't have enough appearances, and he hasn't attempted to betray his comrades. Up next we have Boomer. According to the guy's backstory, Boomer loves blowing up stuff, especially sheep. So, naturally, Boomer wants to take his explosive fetish into the Troll army, where he'll commit a serious number of war crimes. He didn't find this pleasing, however, so he decided to join the Skylanders. While looking on the bright side, he's trying to atone for his crimes, Boomer is a huge pyromaniac, thinking that every problem could be solved by explosions. Not to mention, I can imagine this guy in battle being just as impulsive as Wrecking Ball, just throwing a bunch of dynamite sticks around, clearing a path of enemies. Also, when it comes to tactics, his tactics are pretty dangerous, such as literally kicking a bomb. Definitely not a good guy to play football with. Up next we have Cinder. Cinder hasn't committed any heinous acts since joining the good guys' side. However, as we all know, she was the daughter of Malifaux, who is an pretty evil dragon, as Spyro fans might know. In the Skylanders universe, he pretty much has the same relationship with her dad. First of all, being extremely loyal to him, but after some convincing from Spyro, she decides to do what's right and fight for what is necessary. While she definitely has a lot of moral standards to this part of the list, she does get pretty angered easily, such as one time when Wrecking Ball tried to trip her over with his tongue, and then Cinder shoots lightning at the poor guy's tongue, leaving poor Wrecking Ball to not eat for 3 days. Like Boomer, she may be trying to atone for her crimes, but damn, she seriously does need to check her temper. And with that, we have our not entirely heroic characters. They're more in the grey area. Characters are just in the middle. Starting this segment, we have Whirlwind. Although she was discriminated by the dragons for having good looks and discriminated by the unicorns for having, well, the flight of a dragon, Whirlwind naturally felt a bit lonely, although she luckily saved both of her people when evil came around. As we all know, Whirlwind has a bit of a provocative side, and I'm guessing that's because of the fact that she was bullied a lot when she was younger. She attacked Flynn because Flynn laughed at one of her power names, that being the Rainbow of Doom, and Whirlwind severely damaged Flynn, with Flynn ending up having a plaster cast on his foot, although that also meant that Whirlwind went easy on him. So that definitely docks her a few points. Up next, we have Sunburn. Yeah, we get a Sunburn. You hate being hunted by many witches and sages for being a half phoenix and half dragon. But do you really think that pranking people is necessary? Sure, he may be valiant in battle, but we haven't really seen him doing anything explicitly good, nor bad. So that's why he's in the grey section. Up next we have Camo. Camo is certainly helpful to Eon, being his personal gardener, yet that's probably the best moral standard he has going for him. Unfortunately, he is a huge pranker, as he likes to prank a lot of his fellow comrades. That's honestly all I can say about Camo, really. I mean, sure, he did have his own book, but it's in French, and I don't speak French, so my apologies. Up next, we have not one character, but 3. Danoran, Prison Break, and Warnado. All 3 of these guys share the same spot, because they haven't done necessarily good acts, but not bad acts either, and all we get from the character is their backstories. Next up, we have a character that actually does something. Slam Bam. He is prevalent in Eruptor Meets the Nightmaking, where he helps out Eruptor and Grim Creeper to try, well, stop the Nightmaking's plans. And that's where it ends for Slam Bam. His unintentionally disturbing appearance in Spyro's adventure doesn't help matters either. Next up, we have Double Trouble. He falls under the same criteria as Slam Bam, as he only really makes his mark in Lightning Rod faces the Cyclops Queen. I don't think I need to say further about Double Trouble from there. Next up, we have Hex. Hex definitely has more depth to her character, with her once being a young gifted sorceress trying to attack Malifaux and succeeding, but because of her attacking Malifaux, she becomes an undead elf. She, barely smiles now, to say the least. We don't see much of Hex spamming in the IDW comics, but she helps Cinder, Spyro, and Wallop take down Malifaux. Hex has definitely become more or less introverted, with her only really smiling when Trigger Happy hits Slam Bam with a snowball. But yeah, that's it about Hex really. Despite him not appearing much, Drill Sergeant is next. Drill Sergeant is definitely a wild card on this list. Drill Sergeant is an Archean, and as we all know, Archeans ruled Skylanders with an iron fist 10,000 years ago, so Drill Sergeant could have been part of the torturing and suffering before he went inactive. It was only due to Terrafin accidentally colliding with Drill Sergeant that Drill Sergeant became a valuable asset to the Skylanders, and he had a new purpose. Drill Sergeant is obedient, and he calls everyone Sir, which annoys Skylanders like Stealthel, for example. This flaw is a result of this old arcane programming, and this raises some questions. If this old programming still remains, what if he meets a fellow Archean that he hasn't seen? What if that Archean was his brother or his relative? Will he turn against the Skylanders because of it? Definitely some interesting theories can be made with this guy, but from what we know, Drill Sergeant can only place here. Definitely one of the more greatest characters. Depending how you feel about the guy in the game, Stump Smash is next. Definitely his most heroic act is, along with the Bone Dragon, saving the Giggling Forest to make it, well, giggling again. But look back at his backstory for a moment. He only really became a Skylander because he went mad over the fact that Trolls cuts him wide open to become the state that he is. And that's why Stump Smash has a huge disliking to Trolls, with the exception of Boomer, of course. So he only really joined the Skylanders out of pure revenge. Next up, we have Eruptor. Despite him being a fan favorite, we all know what Eruptor does best. Well, lava bathing. That isn't really much of a helpful tactic in all consideration. His only real heroic feat he's ever really done, according to other media, is the fact that he stopped the Nightmare King. But really, that's all he has to offer. Sure, he got a lot of screen time in Skylanders Imaginators, but he's been flanderized into a literal coward. And you know, cowardice isn't great for combat. Next we have Zap. We all know that Zap is basically the Sea Dragon version of Jason Bourne. After what seemed like a harmless game of wave surfing, he was caught by one of the bigger waves and was set away from his shore from his family and home. He was then raised by electric eels so that he can shoot, well, electric energy and all that. He uses this power for good, of course, but he also uses this for pranks. And pranks is an extremely immature thing, especially since you're a Skylander. He also has a rivalry with dolphins. Yeah, dolphins. Definitely one of his more redeemable actions is that he stood up for Gilgrunt after the Fish Master, well, was basically being racist towards him. Zap is certainly a nice guy, it's just unfortunately we haven't seen too much of him to give him a higher ranking. Last but certainly not least, we have Trigger Happy. According to his backstory, we all know that Trigger Happy came into one random town and started, well, shooting Glocks at trolls, and then he became a Skylander. But what was his motivations? As we all know, this guy's mental state is clearly crazy. Maybe he was an ex-hitman who was too obsessed with guns. Why does he have a large amount of coins that shoot out from his guns? Is he rich? Does he have an infinite supply of money? He's certainly a character that's done good throughout the franchise, but his mysterious backstory is really what lets him down. Now that we have the grey section out of the way, it's time to look at the best of the best. We first of all have a characters that have done great things throughout the franchise, but just don't have the screen time to prove it. Starting with Bash. Bash's backstory is certainly a tale of resilience, as he was so insecure about life that he didn't realize that he has great, well, rolling skills. From what we can gather between Bash's backstory and Flashwing's backstory, Bash seems like a pretty friendly guy, as he was only blasted off a cliff because Flashwing was startled. Again, like literally almost every other Skylander, he just isn't expanded enough. Next, we have Flameslinger. Flameslinger may be egotistical, but that's a side already seen. He's actually quite a loving guy, and he's best friends with Stump Smash. And that's about it I can say about Flameslinger. I know. Then we have Ramshell. Ramshell scores major points here, as he saved his entire kingdom from trolls drilling his, well, homeland for oil. And the fact that he literally gives up a throne to become a Skylander is honourable. Then what did he do after that? Not much. But hey, he saved his home, so that's something to write home about. Next up, we have Igniter and Chop Chop. I decided to rank the two together because both have very similar personalities. Both of them are honorable and loyal and obedient, and will never betray their masters. Both fight for honor and dignity. Now, if I got to be honest, if there's one character that's a bit more heinous than the other, it would be Igniter, considering that he's still bloodlust for revenge of a witch that tricked him from having himself burned alive in his own suit of armor. But that's only a small hindrance from Igniter. And then again, Chop Chop, like Drill Sergeant, is an Archean. The only thing is that Chop Chop is more organic. He has more free will than Drill Sergeant. So that places both Igniter and Chop Chop in this spot together. The last orc of existence in Skylanders is up next. Yep, I'm talking about Voodoo. The guy's real motivation is to just defend, especially when you come to realize that he lost all his friends and family to a bunch of armies, being the only orc left alive, as mentioned before. This event could have mentally scarred him, like how Ghost Roaster's transformation mentally scarred him. But you know, Voodoo is chill, right? Okay, yes, Voodoo, Boo and Ghost Roaster were working for Spellslamzer, but they were pretending to work with Spellslamzer when they were actually spying on him. So that doesn't necessarily count, as Voodoo is quite an honorable person. The reason why he's higher than Chop Chop and Igniter is because he had to endure the fact that all of his kind was gone, yet he found inner balance in himself. Now we have the best of the best, the Skylanders that generally take the job seriously. We start off with Zook. If you've seen Zook in Cinder, Curse of the Weather Wizard, then you'll see that Zook is a pretty nice guy. He is very chilled and laid back. Even if his cheeriness annoys his comrades, he's still willing to defend them. How nice. Next up, we have Terrafin. Again, like Zook, he's generally a nice guy. The things I said about Zook can be the same things you can say about Terrafin. He just has more screen time, you know, due to being more popular, and of course due to him appearing in the Giant and Swap Force commercials. Then we have Lightning Rod. Lightning Rod, contrary to his forgettable name, was a really big celebrity up in the Cloud Kingdom, and he had it all. He just felt that he needed a greater purpose in life, so he decided to join the Skylanders to find that purpose. The self-sacrifice is really what pits Lightning Rod higher. He could have lived as a celebrity the rest of his life, but he thought, nah, I must do more, like protecting. Then we have Gil Grunt. The only negative quality about Gil Grunt is that he thinks that his singing is beautiful, when really it isn't. Apart from this, due to his previous military combat experience, he is very protective, and he's also pretty great in battlefields. And in Skylanders Imaginators, he even gives reconnaissance to Stealth Elf and Spyro about the Imaginite in Mushroom River. Just missing the top 3, we have Stealth Elf. Stealth Elf has achieved a number of feats that some Skylanders here couldn't. Stealth Elf was raised alone in the forest by some ninja master or something, and of course she was trained so well that Eon noticed her and she became a Skylander because of it. We don't know her true motivations, but like all elves, she's very protective over nature. Although we don't know much about her other than she's cool at the end of the day, she definitely fights with honor and dignity. Our bronze medal of good will have to go to Spyro. Let's be honest here, while many of us don't like his moveset in the game, we can all agree that he has done a lot of good. He's honorable, quick thinking, and cares about his friends more than others. Spyro is very cocky and headstrong, however, which are his main downsides. But you know, since he was the namesake of the first game, naturally he would have more screen time, and that's why he's our bronze medal of good. The silver medal of good will go to Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom without a doubt cares for her family, even though her young always go through a process of hatching and then rehatching. Thought must be horrible. She is protective like a good mother should be, and she also dislikes bullying. And our gold medal of good is Drobot. Drobot doesn't really seem to contain any flaws within him. After all, he is pretty perfect in the Skylanders games. Drobot always used his head and not his physical abilities, which is something to admire about already. One day, because he epically sucks at flying, he got blown away to an arcane armory. It was there where he found his mechanical suit of armor, which improved his physical strength tenfold. And also, he volunteered his services to Eon, whereas Eon has to go around the Skylands to try find his soldiers. Must have been less work for him that day. Though he unfortunately hasn't appeared too much, Drobot, from what we know, is a brilliant tactician. His intelligence is also pretty useful to his friends. And of course, he's great at search and rescue when he rescued Flynn from a plane crash. This and more is why I think Drobot is the most pure Skylander. But what do you think, guys? Do you think that another Skylander deserved Drobot's place? Or do you think there's a Skylander that done a bit too much of a heinous act? I'm open to any opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.